One of the things that we do is we teach people that very simple meditation of finding the elegant sweet spot of the generous present moment. That when they get beyond their body, their environment, and time, and they become pure consciousness, they have to be in the present moment to do that. Now, there's a formula for that as well, and if you can go and check out some of the meditations, but we teach people the basis of how to get there. Heart coherence is another way to begin to slow your brainwave patterns down. When you're feeling with your heart, I always say the brain thinks, but the heart knows. When you're feeling with your heart and you're trusting the intuition of your heart, that's because your energetic field is tapping into information, and your heart becomes the compass for you to know. So then when you lead with your heart in your life, it's very different than leading from any other place. So if you're going to believe in a future that you're creating with all of your heart, it better be open and activated. So heart coherence is another way. We have certain breathing techniques that we teach people that help to slow their brainwave patterns down to get into that place. But I mean, there's many ways to go about it, but the key is that you do it. Because if you don't do it, you're probably not going to experience the benefits. And just like any skill or any habit, in the beginning it takes a lot of conscious effort, but then once you get good at it, then you can do it automatically. And we have people in our work that we've measured their brainwave patterns. They can change their brainwaves in 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 9 seconds, 12 seconds. It's not like, hey, I'm getting to the quantum field before you. It's more like, I know how to do this. I've been doing it. I know how to get there. It's a skill. And that becomes highly effective and important when you're at a balance and you need to make your way back to balance. Our community just naturally says, excuse me, I'm going to take a few moments and get centered here. So many people confuse self-love with pleasure. And they think that when they feel pleasure, that's love. No, that the more whole you feel, the less need for pleasure you'll have. The less whole you feel, the more you're attached to things that are going to stimulate you and create pleasure. So then how is self-love born? You have to come up against the end of your emotional belief. You have to come to the very point where you don't think you can go any further, that you've reached the end and you don't believe that there's anything beyond that. And then you have to step out a little further and go a little further than where you thought you could go. Every time you do that, something awakens in you. You have more respect for yourself. You have more respect for life. You have more respect for others because you realize that change isn't that easy. You start to feel this kind of sense of peace and compassion because you've come up against your own limits and you're stretching yourself beyond those limits. So then when you finally free yourself from the chains of those emotions and those habits that keep you anchored to the past, there's a liberation of energy. And that liberation of energy is the body going from particle to wave, from matter to energy. And that energy that's being released, the body starts to feel what we call joy or love or freedom. And that is what I call the natural state of being. So you're not getting that joy or that freedom or that love from anything outside of you. There's nothing out there that's creating it. It's happening from within you. So then we see then in our research, when people really start to cross that river of change and start to break through, and they begin to activate certain latent systems in their brain, and those latent systems start signaling oxytocin, the love chemical. Oxytocin signals nitric oxide. Nitric oxide signals a chemical that causes your heart and lungs to swell. Your heart literally is engorging with energy and blood, and it's literally swelling, and this center now is activated. So then, when you feel that, you're not going to want to lose that feeling. In fact, if you start judging another person, if you start getting impatient with another person, you'll notice that feeling will go away. You start analyzing yourself, that feeling will go away. So then it makes sense then that when you feel that level of wholeness, that you feel so whole that you wouldn't want to lose the feeling, then self-love leads to allowing, which means I'm just going to allow you because I'm so in love with myself, I can allow you. When I'm not in love with me, I'm going to pick you apart. But the more in love I am with myself, the more love and appreciation I have for all things. I am no longer in the same energy as my enemy, the same energy as my coworker that I despise. I'm in a different energy. And then the side effect of allowing is called joy. So then if you're not judging or criticizing, then you're not dividing your energy. And if you're not dividing your energy, you're going to feel joy as a side effect. So then more and more people start to figure this out. In other words, if you spend 2 hours in a meditation, getting beyond your fear or your anger or your pain or your suffering, it took you 2 hours to get beyond it, and you feel the liberation of you getting beyond those limited states, I guarantee you would be walking around in your life celebrating, because that divine intelligence that's living in you, that's giving you life, is now expressing itself through you to a greater measure. So then you're in love with life because you're connected to life. And imagine how far you can go with this, because the more you connect to that field and the more you connect to that life essence, the more you're going to feel in love with life, because that's where your attention is. I guarantee you that if you did that every single day, you would be less likely to want to feel fear or pain or suffering or anger, and more likely to want to feel those elevated states. And you're not going to be relying on anybody to make you happy. You're going to realize that happiness comes from within. People think they think it's about their wealth or their health or their freedom or their new relationship or their new job. It's none of that. It's about who you become in the process. So you overcome your fear, you overcome your doubt, you overcome your unworthiness, you overcome your pain, you overcome your past. You keep overcoming, you keep overcoming, you keep overcoming. You're going to become somebody else. And once you become wealth, I mean, nobody creates wealth. You generate wealth. It's an energy. You generate freedom. You generate all those things. You are the generator of it. So then, I love this because people are so conditioned, me included, for many years, that we have to drag our bodies through space to get what we want, right? That's living in the world of separation, matter trying to change matter. And so the more I'm living by those survival emotions, the more it's going to take me time to get my dreams to come true. But in the quantum, if you're creating from the field instead of from matter, Einstein said, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. He didn't say the particle controls the particle, the field controls the particle. So if you're creating from the field instead of from the particle, when there's a vibrational match with your energy, and even Einstein said this, it's all vibration. When there's a vibrational match with your energy and some potential in the quantum field, you don't have to go anywhere to get it. In fact, you are going to collapse space and time, and the event is going to be drawn to you. Now you don't go anywhere to get it. You are calling experiences to you. So then the final point is that, well, then you got to take responsibility for every area of your life, even the stuff that isn't working. Because the stuff that isn't working, you got to change your energy then equal to something greater. And so then people will say, well, yeah, but you understand, this person did it to me. And I would say, right, but if you keep reacting, you're going to create another one of those. So then what do you have to do? You have to get beyond the memories of our past and fall in love with the future over and over again, so that all of a sudden you're believing in that future more than you're believing in the past. And the brain and body, if we do it properly, will look like the future has already happened. Now you don't have to do anything. It's going to come to you. If you're not a victim, you would just say, hey, I need to learn a lesson here. I need to modify my behavior. Okay, I'm done with that. Yeah. I've owned that. I've did it enough times. I'm finished. I want to try something else. You're a soul on the journey back to singularity, back to source. And there's no God up there that's going to help you. You got to do it yourself. You came down and descended into density to answer the question, is there more? Now that you're answering the question, there's more, you just got to ask the same question to get out of here. Is there more? So then, as you start asking the question and you no longer are seduced by the common things in our lives, then it makes sense then that you begin to evolve your understanding. So the person who's a scientist or the student, no longer a victim. There are no victims, they're just students. The person may say, well, I feel bad because I created that. Well, how long are you going to feel bad for? Yeah, but it's not the fact that you feel bad. We all feel bad. The question is, how long are you going to do that for? If you let it go for a long enough period of time, you're stuck. Because emotions are a record of the past. If you're feeling the same emotions, you're still in your past. And your body's believing, as the unconscious mind, it's in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So then, sooner or later, you got to leave familiar territory and you got to make a new choice. And when you make a new choice, just get ready, because it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to be in the familiar, the known. You're going to be in the unpredictable. And so many people rush back to the same conditions in their life because they're afraid of the unknown. But that unknown then has to be the perfect place that we create in. So when the person really realizes, okay, well, I created that, okay, dang, all right, I got another opportunity to create something differently. They just turn around, they let go, and they create again. And they do it over and over again until finally they start producing an outcome. The self-love that's created from that is greater than any sports car, greater than any wardrobe, greater than any vacation, greater than any facelift. It's just coming from within you, because now you're the resource of your life.